All right, everyone, welcome to this webinar, and we still have people logging into the call, so we're going to wait a few more minutes, and we will be starting here in a few. Very excited to have you all on here, and we'll be starting here in a few minutes. All right, everyone. Hey, thank you all for logging in and joining us on this webinar. We're really excited to talk about how you can boost your Qlik Sense apps with Mashups. And we're going to get into some pretty exciting stuff. So very, very excited that you guys are here with us. All right, so we're going to have a few speakers on this call, and I want to introduce myself. So my name is Daniel Rabel. I am the account manager here in the U.S., have over 14 years experience in this industry, and I have a bachelor's of science degree in business administration. And one of our other excellent speakers we're going to have on here is Luz Carrillo. And she is a front-end developer and has over 3 years of data analysis. And another special guest we have on the call today on this webinar is Aldo Rodriguez. He is a specialist and UX delivery manager with over 6 years at Devhop with certification as a UX UI designer. So we're very excited to have them on the call, and they're going to definitely get y'all some really good information on this. And wanted to go over the schedule of what we're going to be doing on this call. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go through the business benefits that mashup projects bring to us, and going through some practical cases. Secondly, we're going to do the UI UX applied in your solutions, how it will work for you. And thirdly, we're going to go through some mashups and the theoretical aspects of these mashups. And fourthly, it's going to build it. So learning how to build it for the first time through these mashups. So you're asking, so who is this webinar for? Okay, so a lot of y'all are familiar with Qlik, but if you're not, we're going to get a little bit more into that. But this webinar is for companies that already have Qlik Sense or are evaluating the capabilities and the possibilities of Qlik Sense versus other technologies. Like, for example, business intelligence managers, developers, commercial, financial, marketing, stuff like that. Managers who want to cover specific needs on a single platform. That's who this webinar is for. So what benefits do businesses get when implementing mashups in your Qlik applications? And that's what we're going to go through, but we're going to show a quick little video here right now.
Analytics has changed, and traditional statistical dashboards are no longer sufficient to achieve the desired impact on organizations. Technology now gives us the possibility to combine data generated in your company and convert it into insights and indicators to make decisions that lead to benefits for your company. We have to reach decision makers in a forceful way with attractive, intuitive, and addictive applications. And now, we have the possibility of triggering actions in the transactional system of organizations in an automated and intelligent way thanks to data. The solution is to create a sketch that will become a mockup and will ultimately give us the mashup that will help us to meet our business objective. We have perfected the process where we set the business objective. We design the solution. We understand what happens in the business. We take advantage of the KPIs, and we integrate actions in other platforms to achieve the results that the company needs. Now, this is all analytics, the base, UI, UX, and the integration of mashups with Qlik Sense in your company. At Evo Analytics, we know how to do it. How to ensure the use of your analytics applications and take a next step in your decision making.
Glad you enjoyed that video right there. So the video highlights that we're looking at is pretty much talking about how the analytics has changed, and traditional statistical dashboards are no longer enough to deliver the desired impact on organizations, right? We have to take the next steps here. Technology now gives us the possibility to combine the data generated in your company to integrate into a single solution that generates automated action with artificial intelligence and becomes operational analytics, orchestrated with microservices like Qlik Sense and what that can do. We have to reach a decisive decision makers with attractive, intuitive, and addictive applications. The UI and the UX are more present nowadays than ever. So let's be a strategic allies, and let's have we have the trained teams ready for your project. So let's do this. So what benefits do companies get from this, and how are large corporations doing it? So when is the right time to carry out this type of project? And these are some of the questions we'll be answering throughout this webinar. Step number one, we're going to define the business objectives. It's like, I don't know, I want to raise my profits by, let's say, 5%. Secondly, it's going to be plan my solutions. We're going to make a sketch, mock-up, mashup developments that will help me at my business and my objectives. Thirdly, we're going to go through what indicators, insights do I have to pursue to help me meet my business objectives? How can I identify them more easily to help me make this vision? And fourthly, we're going to obtain insights in our analytical platforms and also see what that it generates, actions and transactional systems that benefit our objectives. Fifthly, we're going to be reaching the goal as the part of the way that machine learning can be applied to automate this process and ensure that it always gives the best benefits. So we'll give a big check to that. So here are some of our Evo Analytic accounts, and some of the ones that you guys would recognize are going to be like HSBC, Bimbo, Procter & Gamble, Pfizer, Wendy's, HEB, and these are just a few of our current clients or clients that we've been working in the past with. So how does it work? As a single integrated team, not only we integrate a multidisciplinary team to each project, according to our experience, this is one of the key factors that ensures the success of each strategy. Your project will be in the best hands because of our experts from different areas. We'll work together with your internal team as a real agile and high performance team. So each team member has a specific role and a clear responsibility. The Evo Analytic product owner coordinates activities, times, and resources in conjunction with the customer's product owner. The executive committee is a participation of added value as the part of Evo Analytics. This committee meets the project's team to validate the solutions and guarantee the quality of each proposal from the functional, technical, and completeness point of the view of the vision. And on the right side, you can kind of see a little breakdown of the executive commitment, how we have a whole circle from the product owner to the client, which is the product owner as well. We're able to just show you kind of a visual of how the team is integrated. All right, so what benefits do companies get from this? The ROI, the process automation, reliable platform and governed by data. And how are the big corporations doing it? So the equipment extended to your operations to give the agility to results, right? And what is the right time to carry out this type of project? So on this slide, we're just showing you some of the governance of the platforms and how they work and how they function with some of the specific names and the dashboard and analytics. So that's just what we're visualizing right here. So what is the full cycle analytics? So what we do, we get to know your business, your philosophy, your motivation, major pains, and then we tailor result-driven solutions. Our three-phase methodology converts natural resistance to change into excitement. So the first thing we do is our business is to be creative specialists dedicated to guide the solution design process through business discovery workshop, discovery process, data science on demand, research and development, the UX, UI, and then what we do the implementation. Our expert team processes the methodologies to make the solutions a reality. First, we got the projects, then the outsourcing, the nearshore, offshore, and agile. So in our second step, we do the implementation. And then on the third step, we do continuous operation. So how do you want the delivery of the solution? We provide a lot of options. We can either do it through business intelligence as a service, data science as a service, cloud, AWS, Azure, Google, hypercare, and support. So let's see how to make the first steps to raid into the world of mashups using Qlik. So now I'm going to introduce you to our phenomenal, really good UI, UX developer, and he is going to go through the applied ways of doing Qlik Sense on the mashup. So Aldo, are you here with us?
Yes, thank you, Daniel, and thanks to everyone who signed up for the webinar. I'm Aldo Rodriguez, and I am the leader of the UX and UI area at Devhop. Well, how does the UX and UI process intervene in the design of a mashup? Well, we will start by showing the final mashup, and then we will explain the process that led us to this final result. A very, very easy to use application with an intuitive navigation between all its sections, analysis sheets, filters, pop-ups, etc. A 100% functional and responsive interface for the end user, designed to be on different devices, computers, cell phones, tablets, and another devices, right? Without forgetting the visual and corporate aspects for client's brand. If your interface meets these characteristics, congratulations. We have created an application with which the user feels valued. It could even become an addictive application for our client, because when he uses the app, he feels so comfortable. We will first define two concepts. The first concept is the user experience, or UX. It studies how a person feels when interacting with a system, considering some things like ease of use, perceived value, utility, and many other features that add value to the experience when we use that. This system can be a web page, an application, any system in which people interact with machines. And the second concept is the user interface, or UI. Is the platform or interface where people and machines interact. This one is more focused on graphic or industrial design. Its objective is to design an interface with shapes, colors, fonts, image, and other components where you don't need an instruction to use it. Basically, a UX designer has a logical and creative thinking. It detects the needs of users, is the architect of information, and makes a functional analysis. And the UI designer has a functional and creative thinking. He creates the interface using colors, fonts, image, icons, etc., reinforcing the brain and materializing the ideas with a mock-up or prototype. When was the UX born? Number one, because the degree of complexity of the web has increased. More and more functionalities and contexts are added. This makes the user run the risk of getting lost, that he doesn't know what to do or he even leaves the web before time. If it were an e-commerce page, it would be a great waste of money. And number two, currently, we have many devices to view our application. Cell phones, tablets, computers, monitors, etc. That is why it is important to design responsibility for all these devices and to achieve a good multi-channel experience. We must take care of all details of our product. They are very, very, very important and end up being to the safe factor between one product or another. And risks for not thinking about UX and UI in the process. Okay, number one, it doesn't meet the customer needs, and number two, failure in the interface design with browser. This is a failed UX example. This is the case of a Ford vehicle where its dashboard was totally analog and easy to use. Ford decides to innovate in the new version and digitalize all the functions of the dashboard. This was not very functional for the user since they were very distracted with when driving and it turning to the screen. When they saw the great losses of money that this error led, they decide to combine both ideas. And finally, the edition stage to develop a mashup. First, we have the sketch. It is a blank space where brainstorming arises. At this stage, it is about making mistakes, being iterative until we make sense of the components of our mashup without going into much detail. Then follow the wireframe. It is the template to delimit space and flow. It is a visual guide of the structure of our mashup and focus mainly on the types of information that will be displayed, the number of functions available, the priorities of information and functions, and the effect on the different devices. Then the mockup. It is a preview of our mashup, a skill model without any functionality, and with dummy data and graphics. It serves as a guide prototype for developers and above all to executives. Review and analyze the modification that we have to make before executing them in development. To achieve this stage, there are many tools that we can read on people design, journey maps, surveys, storytelling, etc. And finally, we get to the mashup. I'll leave you with Luz Carrillo, the expert in creating mashups.
Hey guys, thanks for staying in. I'm Luz Carrillo, and we're going to be checking out the more technical part of this webinar and how to do it. Okay, so The reason we're doing this is so you can understand how a mashup works and how to consume Qlik Sense resources by using web development technologies. Qlik Sense is made by JavaScript, which allows us to consume the data in there, and we can move it then to a web environment using HTML and CSS. Okay, so what are mashups? We've already heard a lot of point of views on what is the mashup, but in a more technical way, what is it? It's like a hybrid web app application that combines web services and that is consumed by one single site. Okay, so in web browsers, we usually don't recommend to use Safari or Explorer because it's very limited. The tools that we have for development, they don't allow us to use them, and it's a closed code, so we can't really see what's happening. And usually there may be some objects with Qlik Sense that you cannot see, so that's why we don't use those. The one we would recommend would be Chrome because I mean it has the development tools, it's an open code, and it's more friendly with Qlik Sense. Technologies third party. What are these? These are technologies that are already on our Qlik Sense, so we don't have to implement them. They're already with us, so it's very recommended that you use them because I mean we already have them. Some of which are AngularJS, jQuery, Leonardo UI, and Require.js. Okay, so what do we need to make our mashup? We need an IDE so we can make our code, edit it, and process it. So one of which I recommend could be Sublime Text. It really depends on which one you like more. Some have more advantages and some other have less. It really is on your choice. So as I said, we need an IDE so we can make our code. Which languages do we use? It's HTML is one of them, so we can make our markup, as you know. Okay, so we need HTML, but also we need CSS, which, as you know, is a styling sheet in Cascade that we can put our colors, fonts, sizes, etc. in our web environment. And also, finally, we're gonna need JavaScript because, as I said at the beginning, that's how you can consume all the data that Qlik Sense gives us. Okay, so Qlik Sense Desktop gives us an option to use, which is called Devhop, and we can see that in our browser on localhost. And it has a lot of tools, like it says here. It has single configuration, extension editor, mashup editor, widget editor, engine API explorer, and the Qlik view converter. So of all these, usually we only use two, which is single configurator and mashup editor. The single configuration works. It's a simpler way to make a mashup without using a single line of code. So what does this mean? It means that we don't have to use HTML, CSS, or JavaScript, or any other type of language or code. You don't need it. In this, you can only grab and drag any item that you can see available. The problem with this is that it's very limited. You can only do so much. It doesn't look as nice. It's probably not even responsive. It has a lot of limitations. So that's why we don't use this. But I like to mention it so you guys know it's available for you. And we have Mashup Editor, which helps us to get the idea of our items or objects or graphics or copies or anything that we want to show in our web environment. Okay, so which methods? We're going to be seeing a little bit of code right now in a few moments. You can also find this documentation in their website, which is in help.qlik.com. In the section of capability, it's right there. You can check this out, and maybe if you have more questions. There's a lot more, but right now we're going to be focusing only on these ones because they're like the most important. And after this, you can just go through and it's going to be more easier. So we're going to be checking out open up method, get object method, same get object method, but this time for KPIs, the resize method, clear all, and field API. Okay, so a few moments ago, I was saying how we use JavaScript to consume our data, and we're going to see this a little bit more technical in a few moments, but just so I can mention it right now. We do this by consuming something called Qlik Hypercube, which is basically an array dimensional where Qlik Sense stores all the data of all the objects. And thanks to that, we can consume it and then bring it to our web environment and just, like select what information we want to bring and just bring it. Okay, so right now we're going to go to the part where we get a little bit more practical with creating your mashup with Qlik Sense integration. This is the one we have here. We can see the layout, and we're going to be checking that out right now. Okay, so right here we have our layout, which I've already made, so we don't have to concentrate on the basics of HTML, CSS. And really, we have here just some numbers that I put in. I'm going to open my HTML, and as we see, they're just numbers. They have no connection to Qlik Sense or anything. So the first method we're going to be looking at is open app. It's really just as simple as saying click open app, and we're going to put here our path so we can find our ID of our app. In this case, we could put just like the ID, or I made here a JSON so I can have all of my IDs right here in hand. So I don't have to be checking them out one per one, and I have them already here. And I just made made up some names just so I can consume them. Okay, so that's all I have here, just an ID, a plain JSON, and I put here the path, which is very simple as that. I could put here like the actual ID, and it would be exactly the same thing. Okay, so what we want here is not this random numbers that I've put us. What we want here is an actual KPI from Qlik Sense. So what we're gonna do is use our get object method. Okay, so we can see that here is just plain numbers, and we have nothing here. We're supposed to have like a pie or something, but we have nothing. So we're gonna start here. So as I said earlier, we're gonna be using our get object method. So I've put us this variable where I've only so I put it here so I can have it more easy-handedly to me, and then I put it here, and so it's just here. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our open app that we have here, and we're gonna use the method. As we said, it's get object, and it's gonna require values. Which ones? It's the ID that I've assigned to it in the JSON. I'm just gonna copy paste that one, and we have it right here. Also, just for a best practice, what I like to do is put on the path as I did here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna go in settings, .object, and the name that I gave it, or the ID that I gave it. And this one's for the pie, okay? So I've put on this, and I'm gonna now call it on my HTML. So we can see right here in my layout that I have this box, this square, this div that has only the height, a weight, and it just has a border. It has nothing else. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna call it via the ID that I put it through. So which one did I put here? We can check the JSON. We copy it. It's this one. Then we're just gonna paste it here, and then we're gonna save. So with our development tool open, let's just make sure that we have disabled our cache or our cookies, because remember that Qlik Sense has a very, very rough cookies, and it's very difficult to erase it if you don't have this like this, because it's like very persistent. Okay, so let's refresh. And let's just wait a little bit. It can take sometimes time to load because it's trying to make its way through. And so here we have our first object that comes from Qlik. As we can see, it has the same interaction as it would if you'd be in your application. Okay, so right here we have our object. As we can see, it has the same interaction as it would in Qlik Sense. So just so you can confirm, I'm gonna open right here my app, and it's this one. How do we know it's this one? Because when we do the selection right here above in our filters, we can see the ones that it makes. And here we have it. Just it's like a nicer way to have it in a web environment where you can choose where it's going to be, what size it's going to be, and more stuff. Okay, so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and just take this border off so it looks a little bit more nicer. And I'm gonna wait this to load. It could take a while. This depends a lot on how much data you're consuming. If maybe on Qlik Sense you don't have that much information, it's gonna be a little bit quicker. So it really depends on that. And as you can see, the part of HTML and CSS is the first one to load because of that, no? Because it's not using any data to load, so it goes more quickly. And this takes a little bit more of time. Okay, so this is just an object in its original way. Really, we haven't done it a lot. I'm gonna make this bar we have here of selection for filters up here, just so we can see that it's actually making the selection it says we are. So I'm gonna go back to my HTML, and I have it right here in our app root. And just so you guys know, this one, we don't really need to make it in our JSON or anything, because that bar is always called current selection. It's always the same ID. It's the only object that has the same ID always. As you guys know, the IDs always change like randomly, except this one. So it's the easier to paint. You just really have to put the ID, and it's about it. We're gonna do the same method, get object. And as I said, it has the same ID. It really doesn't change. And that could be just about it. We're gonna go ahead and refresh our dashboard. And we're gonna wait a few minutes so it can load properly. And there we have it. We have here our current selection. And in a few more seconds, it's just gonna load the pie, so we can make the adjustment and see if it's working. Okay, we have it right here, and we're gonna go ahead and just click on it, and okay, that is perfect. As you guys can see, it's right here. It's doing the selections it's supposed to. And we can, maybe we don't want to click it there, we can click it here and just take it off, and that's just it. Okay, cool. So that's just this part. We're gonna go ahead and paint in this case, a KPI, and we're not gonna make it the same way because, for instance, in this case, we have them right small, right here, and they're small and they're, well, kind of ugly. So we're gonna give it a little bit more format. We can see here it's like a dark blue. These ones are like grayish, and these ones have different size. So we don't want to we don't want to put like the same that are here because they're not very good looking. So we're gonna go ahead and do that part. Okay, so in this part we're gonna again take our open app so we can open it, and we're gonna do the same method, which is get object, and we're gonna put our path. So we're gonna put this and just go to the JSON, and I'm gonna take this one, which is card got KPI1, and I'm gonna pass it here. And usually this would be it. Like if we look at what we did up here, it's basically the same thing we have here. Okay, it's we opened our app, we did get method up object, and that's it. Okay, so this would finish here, but as I said, we don't want an object, we want the data. So this is where it's different. We're gonna go ahead and do an promise. We're gonna do a function in here, and what we want is we want to consume data. Okay, so we're gonna head and open this, and we're gonna do a console log just so we can see what's in the data, what are we taking from here, what do we want from here, and we're gonna save this, and then we're just gonna open our console right here in our tools, in our developing tools, and see what's gonna bring us. Okay, so here again we have to wait till we have our app loaded so we can see what information we're getting. Okay, so if you see right here, it just painted us this data. So we're gonna open it, and if you guys remember from my presentation, I said what we use is Qlik Hypercube. So we're gonna head and check it out. It's usually in layout, and I mean we can see here that there's a lot of stuff that we may or may not use, but I'm gonna go more for the most common, so you guys can start basic and then just go ahead and dive in and check out all the other data that we're bringing. So we're gonna go ahead, open layout, and then we're gonna go and open Qlik Hypercube. And in here we have all of this, which is like the most important things we're gonna use. And usually if it's just like one, like this one, you're gonna go to Q brand total row, and it's right here. As we open it, we can see what it brings. It brings a QNOM, a QText, and this is what we were looking for. How do we know? We can go back here, and this one's the number we're looking for. So if we open it, it's 123,766. And yes, it's this one, 123,766. It's right here. We have it in QNOM and in QText. What's the difference? So usually you're going to be using those two, QNOM or QText. When are you going to use either one? When you want your number to have a format, like it looks nicer, like it maybe has a the dollar sign or a comma, like in this case, that's when it has a format and it comes as QText. But if you're gonna use it to maybe do a comparison with another number, and maybe it's gonna be evaluated or something, that's when you're gonna use QNOM. In this case, we want it to look nice and we're not gonna compare it to nothing, so we're gonna use QText. And how are we gonna take this and then just put it in our HTML? Well, we're gonna go ahead and do right click and then just copy property path. Okay, once we have that, we're gonna go back here and we're gonna make a variable. In this case, we're gonna make it into a scope, so then we can consume it in our HTML. So we're gonna head and put scope and any name you you guys want. Really, it's up to you. I'm gonna use the same one that I have in the idea, in the ID, just so I don't get lost, but you can put either one you prefer. Okay, then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna say from this data we said, and we're just gonna paste here everything we just did. So what did we do an instance ago? We went to layout, and then we opened Qlik Hypercube, and then we went to Q grand total row, and then I said in this case we're gonna use Q text. We also knew or know now that exists QNum, but right now we're just gonna use this one. And we're gonna save that one, and then okay, now we have it in our JavaScript. We know now here is the 123,766, and now we have to pass it on to our HTML. So how do we do that? We go ahead and open, in this case, the HTML that I named dashboard, and right here where I have the 106, which is this one, I'm gonna go ahead and erase it and open double keys, and here I'm gonna call my variable that I did here with scope, which is named card KPI, and we paste card KPI 1, okay? And that's about it. We save this, and then we're gonna go back to our Chrome, and we're gonna refresh it, and let's see what happens. As you can see right now, it doesn't charge at the first instance, because as I said earlier, everything that has to do with data is going to take a little bit of a while to charge. You can see up here that this one's the first one, and then we have here our KPI. As you guys can see, this one's the one we have here, right here. Okay, and well, that's how you bring a KPI, and you can do the same for the rest. And really, the only thing you have to do here is to make this easier is have your IDs right here in place, and then you can go ahead and map all of these. It's super easy. It's really not that hard, and you just have to consume the data and look for what you look for what you need. I think that's like the little bit of hard part, that you just have to go here, dive in, check out all the data you need. Maybe there's something else you're needing or something less. Usually where it's a little bit harder is in tables, but that's basically it. Also another method that we're gonna see is the field API. This one's very quick, and it takes not a lot of time. So we're gonna go ahead, and as I said earlier, we're gonna use our open app as always, and we're gonna go ahead and use our field API, which is only literally field. And this one, it only requires just usually we use this method because maybe sometimes you want your app to load with a field selected, and you don't want to go ahead and look here in your field and just click on it and look for it. So maybe you already want it loaded when you have your dashboard loaded for the first time. So let's say in this case, I don't know, we want to load the field month, okay? And so we need to do a select match. And we need to tell it what month in this case, or what value we want it to have. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put nov of November. And I'm gonna go ahead and just refresh my browser, my Chrome. And there it is. As you guys can see, I just refreshed it, and here we have month, and it has a value of November, and that's just about it. And that would be it. That's you can do a lot more things, of course. This is just like the very basic of how big you can go. You can really just go very, very big and do a lot of more stuff. This was just like the basics, and that would be it for me. Okay.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being on this webinar, and I hope you learned something new. But if you do have any questions or anything that you want to ask, feel free to send us an email. You can reach us at hi@evo-analytics.com. And we'll try to get back to you as promptly as possible, but feel free, any questions, we'd be glad to take them, and also be on the lookout for any of our future webinars that we'll be putting together. So again, thank you all very much, and we look forward to hearing from you.